Oh, and announce your midday class.
My who?
Your red day class that you're doing.
Red Day class.
Remember you were teaching about red, not red day. So we can do an open house on Panther Town Night on the 14th. Yeah.
No, I didn't get a note.
Remember that?
It was a commission or something.
No.
You had a film camera
I do have a camera
facing the other way.
facing the way.
That one. Yeah.
Well, that's because it's that camera. Oh, great.
Okay, so guys, again, if you can silence your phones, we are live. There's, I think, 6 people on Plus Market Centers are going to be joining in. So you can silence your phones. If you have questions, if you can like write them down and pass them up, David can ask that way, or you can use your computer. If you're on the Zoom link, you can use the chat and submit them there. You don't have people shouting over other people. And yeah.
How do I unmute Rick? Rick, can you hear me?
I can.
All right, and thank you for saying that. Say something else, Rick. I want to make sure our speakers are loud enough. Say hello, Rick.
Okay. Hey guys, how you doing?
All right. Okay. What time is it?
Glad to be here.
That's Brad there too.
However, I'm
David
getting
Heyer,
a
team
feedback.
leader up here at KWPRP. Happy to meet you. We're talking to you all the way from, is it Arlington, Virginia? No, you're up in
No, I'm in Orlando. I ain't too far.
Orlando. That's what I thought.
Brad Kiger is on as well. She's
Brad's in Orlando.
no.
No, Brad's not. Brad, you in Orlando?
No, I wish I was. I'm sure the weather there is much nicer than here.
Well, it's beautiful today. Actually, it's cold. What is it, about 55 out there?
It's like
60?
it's like 63.
Yeah, that's 63. It's cold.
Yeah, it's about the same here.
So listen, we appreciate y'all getting online with us, and I know Gianna, thank you for putting this together. And I know there's several people that are watching this on Zoom as well as YouTube Live, right?
Right now we're just on YouTube. We're gonna put it up on, or excuse me, just on Zoom. We're gonna put it on YouTube later.
Okay, cool. So this is going to be recorded. I hope you guys are comfortable with that. You've been recorded once or twice, right?
Yeah, I would love to get a copy of it when it's time.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm going to take a second right now, guys. We're trying to get you on the big screen here, but we don't have you on the big screen yet.
Will this be recorded so we can
Yeah.
watch later if we get
We're waiting on
called
Cassia as well.
out?
Yep, we're waiting on Cassia from Tulsa. Is it Tulsa? Yeah, this is going to be recorded so you guys can watch it later.
Then we have to go.
Yeah, go where?
Throw somebody in the house, no. You know, it's the business.
You guys are. Of course, you got to go show property.
Please have them start introductions.
All right, so folks, if I can ask Rick, Brad, because you're here right now, if you could just, Rick, go first and give us an introduction of who you are. We're so excited that you guys are here. Gianna's been telling me so much about you guys. We're actually privileged to have both of you guys. So go ahead and say hello to the crowd.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us. So my name's Rick Brown. I am a team owner here in Orlando, Waterford. So if you're looking for an Orlando partner, would love to work with you guys. I have been in real estate for going on 5 years. Started out as a single agent. Pretty much started out doing open houses from day one. My background is in outside sales. Did retail sales and realized that open houses was definitely a way of introducing myself to the real estate world and just really building relationships. So I was doing 7 open houses a week. The way I looked at it is nobody was coming into the office and asking for Rick Brown. So if I could get one buyer through an open house, it was a great open house. So I was doing them 7 days a week. Started to build my portfolio from that, and sold my first open house in 20 days. So a lot of agents say, open houses are a lead source, but No one ever told me that you're not supposed to sell the open house. Needless to say, did really well with it. I joined a team in 2015, became a lead buyer agent for about 2.5 years. And then in 2018, started my own team. And as of now, we are a team of 7 with 3 admins. And in 2019, production, I don't know if you want to know it, but we did a little over 20 million with a little over 100 transactions.
And Rick, did you, if you said so, I apologize, a little over 100 transactions. How many of those from open houses do you think? Do you calculate that? Do you know your return on investment?
Yeah, so we do probably every one of my agents, and I'm probably going to talk about it, but my agents are responsible for being a minimum standard of 2 open houses a week. And that is our #1 lead generating tool. And so my open houses actually go up to more about 4 a week per agent. And I'm going to say most of our lead source versus internet leads, we're about 34% from open houses.
That's great. That's awesome. All right, Brad, can we hear a little bit about you, Brad? Thank you for being here.
Yeah, hey guys. So Brad Kiger, I have a team in Arlington, Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. We also service the just north of D.C., Bethesda, Maryland area. So we'd love to help anyone that you have making a move in that realm. So I was licensed in 2016. I was a school teacher. I joined a team at KW. I sold 1 house and quit teaching. So really smart. Then that year, I sold about 12 homes from August to December. And then I went on my own. I sold 39 in 2017, started a team. That was about 22 million in production. Started a team in 2018. We did 67 units for like 36 million. And then in 2019, we made a big jump and we went to 119 units, right at 49 million. My first year, that 39 units, about 25 of them were from open houses. There's still a big lead gen strategy for our team. When I transitioned into, from 2017 to 2018, I got really listing focused. So I was down, and like Rick, I wasn't doing 7 open houses a week, but I would do 1 on Friday or Thursday. I do 1 or 2 on, I do like my coach had me doing 1 hour open. So I would do like 12 to 1 and then like 3 to 4 on Saturday and Sunday. And then, yeah, our agents still do a lot of open houses. I actually am the team leader at Keller Williams Greensboro now. So I have that role while my team is in Virginia.
I'm sorry, Brad.
What's that?
He said he's sorry you're a team leader.
Oh. I love it, bro. It's awesome. This is good stuff. I get to help 165 people achieve their goals. And so, so yeah, so I took that opportunity in December last year, or November last year. Yeah, we do a ton of open house. Yeah, my agents do open houses. Actually, once I started focusing on listings, I actually started doing open houses as a listing lead generation strategy. So, and I would find a lot of listings out of the open houses when I started asking the right questions. And then we have a farm that a neighborhood that we farm that I think through the open houses and the activities we do around them, it was able to boost us up to about 30% market share in that neighborhood. We actually didn't send a postcard until we got to about 15-20% market share.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on your new role as a team leader.
Yeah, thanks.
We'll talk next year. But anyways,
Yeah.
We're going to be our other guest, Kasia. from Tulsa, Oklahoma, will be joining us shortly. So we'll let her break in and introduce herself to us when that moment happens. But, I have a few questions that I'm sure all the agents have asked. How do you, and you guys can take this where you want to, and I'll let you speak on your own, but how do you prep for an open house? Meaning all the way from how do you choose the open house? Do you do open houses for all of them or just new listings? How do you prep for that? And we'll talk into, what are the systems and tools you do during an open house and your follow-up system after an open house? Would you like to know all that, right?
Yes.
So somebody take it away and tell me what your best practices are for choosing the open house and prepping for the open house.
Sure. I mean, for our team, I would say the first thing you want to do is find the location. Location's huge. Here in Orlando, probably similar to y'all's, I would stay away from gated communities, guard gated communities. We tend to stay away from, and then price point, and then the number of turns. So those are my 3 hot buttons when we're looking for an open house. However, as a listing agent on my team as well, our goal is to do an open house immediately when the property goes live. And I can't determine those turns and I can't determine those price points. So I actually don't do open houses for my own listings. I actually assign one of my team members to do the open house and represent as a buyer's agent. And so we will stand in the open house together and play the old good cop, bad cop. Obviously, as a listing agent, our fiduciary commitment is to the seller, but it's not for a buyer's agent. So if I'm doing an open house for one of my listings, I always have a buyer's agent present. But if you're looking for an open house for outside your own listings, I always say look within your own neighborhood, look within your own zip code where you live, because you want to be the expert. And so location definitely is important, but if you can find a location in your own neighborhood, you are the neighborhood specialist. So you know the schools, you know the community. And when somebody comes into your open house, they're going to want to have that conversation with you. And who better to know that but you living in the neighborhood? So price, our median market price here, Brad, is like $227. So I'm looking between 200 and 300. Why? Most of the time, they're first-time home buyers, and they're not as smart when it comes to having a real estate agent. So they're looking out on the weekend, and they're scheduling their day to go out, and honey wants to go look for a house. Well, they're going to come into your open house not represented, and now you become their agent. So when it's over 400, it more than likely is a second-time buy. Could be a first time, but they're usually, if the agent's done their job, they've got that relationship established and they've got a representative either with them or somebody that they know. So 200 to 300 is our price point. And then the last thing would be the number of turns. So what we do is we tend to look at, say, GPS. How is somebody going to be looking to get into the home? And if there's 20 turns that you have to do to get to that property, it's going to make it a little bit more complicated, less chance that you're going to get the traffic. Doing an open house, obviously, Brad will probably vouch for this, is you want traffic. One individual through an open house is a great open house. Not a good open house, because if you spend 2 to 3 hours in an open house and you get one buyer at $200,000, you're looking at about a $6,000 paycheck minus whatever incentives or what have you. But that's a good open house. We average anywhere from 4 to 7 new buyers out of an open house. I have a few of my team members actually have jumped on, and we did an open house this weekend. We had 40 buyers come through. So it is all about preparation. And I know we'll probably talk into the questioning on that. How do we prepare for an open house? Because if you're going to sit in an open house for 3 hours, you want to prepare to make sure you do get those numbers coming through. So Brad, I'll just turn it over to you.
Thank you.
So we're talking about how to choose the open house?
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, days on market, right? You want obviously, if you can get a house that's listed the first weekend, you're going to get the most traffic on that house. Price point does play a role. The higher the price point, the less potential pool of buyers there are. I'd say, days on market, price point, location, right? What he said about being the expert. So our standard for holding an open house is that you go preview three to five homes like the open house that you're going to hold open, or you at least do the research on MLS so that when someone comes to your open house and they say that they want a bigger backyard, you know which house you can take them to, you know, down the street or in the same neighborhood after that open house. Hey,
Keisha.
here.
Friends, hello. I'm so sorry. I'm so special. I confirmed 3 different times to make sure I had the right time for this time zone, and I still got it wrong. So I'm so embarrassed and I'm so sorry. And you guys, I'll join in when it's my turn. I'm ready other than that.
Good to go. I will say though, I mean, my first like open house experience was, it was overpriced by about $300,000. It was a $2 million house. It'd been on the market for a full year. And I called around that open house every week. I door knocked around it, and my first buyer ended up being someone that was renting, not first, but probably one of my first 5 clients was someone that was renting in that neighborhood that I door knocked. I just started sending them houses on MLS, and then they called me and said, hey, you know, I just got a promotion. We don't want to rent anymore. We want to buy a house. And they bought a $1.3 million house in McLean. So it's not necessarily about, you know, the people that come through your open house. It's about the activities that you do. And I guess we'll get into that next. But
Thank you, Brad. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Some of us had the pleasure of meeting you once before. Why don't you say hello to our guests?
Hi, friends. My name is Kasha, and I have the Aussie Real Estate team in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've been in the real estate business since 2003, and I built my entire business around open house lead generation. So I moved from Australia. I didn't know anyone. They kept telling me to build a database. I didn't have anyone to put in my database. And so I started doing open houses for other agents' listings. And I built my entire database and my business around that activity. So year over year, the last couple of years, my business is about 82% repeat referral. I close between 70 and 80 transactions every single year. And I still do between 35 and 40 open houses that are scheduled out a year in advance. So open houses are a great way to build a pipeline of business. They're a great way to add to your database, and I've used them as a tool since 2003 to do that for my business.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
At first, I didn't hear the accent until you started talking again. I thought
Well,
maybe you were.
there you go. I'm very oaky anymore.
Well, good day, mate.
Good day, mate.
Anyways, so what we were talking about, Kasha, is the philosophy or the process of choosing the right open house, then prepping for the right open house, what you do during the open house and follow up. So why don't you give us a little insight as to, I think you had some pretty interesting insight last time, as these gentlemen do, about what you choose and why you choose it for open house.
Sure. So I only do open houses at brand new listings. Right now, the Tulsa market has a average days on market of less than 40, monthly supply of inventory of 3.5 months, and pretty much anything that hits the market that's priced well and looks nice sells within 48 hours. So since the beginning of the year, actually towards the end of last year and into the beginning of this year, I've literally only been doing open houses on my brand new listing inventory. I schedule for them to hit the market either a Thursday or a Friday, and I don't entertain offers until after the open house on Sunday. And that's how I've been choosing my opens. If it happens to be a listing that's in the listing maintenance cycle, so it's over 3 weeks old, and they would like for me to do an open house for them as part of my value proposition and my marketing, I will only do an open house at that property if I'm doing a price adjustment at the same time, so that I'm capturing all new buyers or anyone that hasn't seen the home to come back as motivation to look at the property. As far as what preparing for the open house, is that what you asked next? My prep used to be a week in advance. So I set my open house schedule for the year in October the year before. That way I know ahead of time which weekends I'll be working. I pick the open house I'm going to do on Monday. So it's advertised all week long. All of my open house traffic comes from my advertising or notice, my publishing it on realtor.com or Zillow. So everyone that comes through my door has seen it online first and is coming to see the property. And so it used to be a week in advance. Now it's literally a day or two before, because activity and inventory is so low now that people are getting out there and are only wanting to see the new stuff. And that's how I'm guaranteeing attendance, is by focusing on the new listings. So Thursday or Friday, professional marketing photos are up and it's advertised open Sunday from 3 to 4. Offers are not negotiated until after the open house to give myself an opportunity to lead generate from that listing. It still doesn't bring the buyer, and it doesn't guarantee that the house will sell from the open, not in Tulsa anyway, but it gives me an opportunity to add to my database and meet new clients. If they're coming to the open, they're not motivated. They would have scheduled to see the house even the day before if it was one that they're interested in buying.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey, let's go back to the guys. Rick, how do you, your prep time, you prep for an open house, just like Kasha explained?
Yeah, I mean, for us, yeah, we prep at least a week in advance. And we usually do that on a Monday of our team meeting. We sit down and we kind of go through what open houses are available. We primarily look at what new listings are coming up on our team. And those are definitely just like what, is it? I want to make sure I get her name right before I say it. Is it Kasha? Or
Kasha.
Kasha, okay. So just like Kasha, we, primarily focus on our own listings. And we set those up on Thursdays to go live. We start promoting those Thursday, Friday, and then we also don't accept any offers till the Sunday. So right now we have a low inventory here in Orlando. And so because of that, the listings aren't as, there's not as many sales. So we are always trying to promote open houses way in advance, usually 3 or 4 days. And how we do that is a lot through social media. I'm fortunate to have a social media manager, and his responsibility is to promote our open houses through video. My agents go to the home that they're going to do the open house that Thursday before the open house, and they do a walkthrough video. They promote the open house. Obviously, that's going to go live with come to our open house on Saturday or Sunday. We usually do both Saturday and Sunday when we bring up a new listing. And we also are aligning ourselves with our vendor partners. So our title company, our lenders who want to join us with at least promoting the open house. I don't usually get vendors or lenders, I should say, to sit in an open house occasionally, but we do different things with, offering a raffle item or something like that for them coming in. They register, they get a chance to win this wonderful basket or what have you. So we'll promote that usually at least 3 or 4 days before the open house. As I mentioned before, Kasha got on the call, we pretty much do 3 to 4 a week per team member, and I have 7 team members. So trying to secure, a listing that is not one of ours, that takes a lot too, because you want to make sure it gets up on the MLS, and that's not a responsibility of my assistant. It has to come from the listing agent and that team. So we usually focus on bigger teams that are also going to want to promote their open houses if we're doing, the ones that are sitting in the open house. And based on that, we are putting it on all the platforms, Facebook. I mean, we've even started putting it on Pinterest. It's getting it out there as much as you can, as soon as you can. And then obviously it hits the other mega internet sites like Zillow and Realtor.com.
Can I add to that, Rick?
Yeah, absolutely.
So social media is an incredible tool. It's not one that existed when I first got into the business. When I'm advertising, I think it's amazing that you brought it up because I think it's a huge part of marketing new listings and your open house traffic. The walking tour or a live video is an incredible way to to show multiple things. One, the new listings that they may not have time to see in person. Two, the fact that you're active in the industry and you know what's happening in your market. Three, that they're able to get exclusive access to that home by you sharing through your social media platforms. And four, you can double down on the new listing post if they're hitting the market late, like Thursday or Friday, and the open house activity that you're planning to do as one post into that weekend. I typically do the video the day of, and it plays all morning or all night into the morning into the next day for that activity, so that it's out there exposing your activity, you know, showing them what you're doing and what you're setting yourself up to do. It's invaluable. I mean, that stuff didn't even exist. We weren't even doing this. I think the first open house video that I found in my time hop was 7 years ago.
Wow.
But I don't think it was that common back then. I'm pretty sure I had a really hard time even loading the video because technology wasn't what it is today on our devices. And so lately we've been paying attention to stories, and I'm not sure if you guys have talked about that yet either, and how much of an impact that's having on social media. We didn't think that we could be exposed to anything more, and now we're skipping even streaming through threads and going straight to stories and clicking through content as quickly as possible. They're saying that's the next thing, is all your open houses, all your still photos, all the stories that you're telling, adding text, adding music. That's where people are going to get their information.
Yeah, and I'll add to that is Facebook Live. We do the day of the open house, we'll go Facebook Live. I have a couple agents that are a little skittish on being in front of a camera, but I also believe that that's, you know, just if you make the mistakes, you make the mistakes. It's a real video. And we tend to get a lot of opportunity there as well. Just even if we don't get them in the open house, that they want to schedule an appointment to go see that home. And we don't give them 100% of, you know, we don't show the whole house. We're only going to give them a little taste of it. Come see us. Or my agents are really great of saying, you know, or for a private showing, please give us a call. You know, we know that an open house is a lead generating tool. Obviously, if you can sell it, great. But if you can't sell it while you're standing in it, you can maybe get an opportunity to meet up with a buyer somewhere down the road.
Yeah, it's all about engagement. It's all about starting the conversation. And so get that content, that information, your activities out there so people start conversing with you about real estate and what you do.
Absolutely.
Brad, are you guys doing a lot of social media for prepping your open houses and advertising for your open houses?
Yeah, I was gonna say before, it's more about when you're doing those videos for your stories and for your agents and for yourself, is that you're putting yourself back top of mind, right? It's like that 30% of your post should be business, right? And a great way to do that is, hey, I'm at this open house today, just hit the market, telling a story about that. Our team's always really been heavily prospecting based. So our approach before an open house, and I think this is what gave us so much traction in our farms, is that we did a lot of door knocking, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday leading up to it. We door knock the neighborhood, invite the neighbors to like a neighbor-only neighborhood preview on Friday if it was a new listing, or have like an hour before the open house started where neighbors could come, because we didn't want them to feel like they were, you know, looky-loos or whatever. Like we wanted to give them a space to where they could come, because, you know, we're basically auditioning at that point for their business. So yeah, that's, you know, we would call around it, door knock it, and the script's really simple. It's just, you know, hey, we just put this home on the market. We have an open house this weekend. We typically get 30 to 40 people through and get an offer the first weekend. If someone happens to love our neighborhood, but this isn't that right house for them, would you guys consider making a move in the next year? So we would use it as a lot of lead gen activities to get out and find more listings in the neighborhoods that we're working.
Can I ask you guys a question? As far as the audience, the agents here, please write down anything and we'll ask them at the end. But because I'm sitting up front, I get to ask the question. So how much do you guys depend on open house signs and flags? And this is a loaded question here because we're going through something in our area here, but signs and flags and directional signs.
I'll let the lady go first.
Yeah, I like signs, but something happened a couple of weeks ago which made me realize that they're not people are using them for something different now. So all of my traffic, because I ask them how they find me as they walk through the door, is coming from online advertising. It's coming from seeing it on social media, seeing it on Zillow, seeing it on Realtor.com. The signs are helping them get there, but so is their nav. So they're putting that address in their phone or in their car, and they're finding the property, not necessarily by following the signs, but by following what their phone says to do. And the signs make it easier to find, but the signs have now all become about branding. It's just getting my kangaroo out there and people following that kangaroo until they find the Aussie at the front door. And so it's less now, it's maybe that's what the intention was always about, but with technology helping people find us, it's less about the direction and more about the brand on the sign than anything else. Now, I do create urgency on my signs by removing times and using language like open now or open happening now. I've reduced the time that I'm there so that people make it a priority to come to my open house first. I think the consumer is conditioned that all open houses subconsciously are from 2 to 4 or 1 to 4. So going after 4 o'clock is a waste of everybody's time. People aren't going to come after 4. They just assume that most open houses are over at that time. And so the sign has evolved in its purpose as technology has given us more tools to engage with the public and for the public to make it easier for the public to find us. So it's about branding and creating urgency now and less about actually helping them find the house.
So if I could add to that, so far as signs, here in Orlando, and I don't know, probably elsewhere, we lose a lot of signs, right? The HOA communities pick them up. But we do put a lot of signs out, and I look at those as like breadcrumbs. It's getting the individual to the home. But 9 times out of 10, I have my phone number on my sign. I have my name on my sign as the team leader, but I'm very loyal to my agents too. So if somebody's doing an open house in a city and I get a call, because a lot of times people will be driving around and they see that there's an open house and they just happen to be in that community area, but they don't have time to stop. I'll get a phone call and I'll get their information and I will pass it on to the agent that's sitting in that open house and make sure that that lead goes to them, because again, it is a lead generating opportunity. And since they're spending the time sitting in the open house, I want them to be able to take advantage of it. Because a lot of people are sometimes just driving around, they're on their way to another event or what have you. They weren't planning on going to the open house. They just saw my sign. So we do put flags up. Every one of my agents have a big yellow and black flag. It's not Keller Williams related. It's just giant and it pops. So people driving through the neighborhood that maybe, saw the open house signs out, they now see where it's at in the neighborhood.
Awesome.
And so tapping on what Brad said, we too will door knock, but mainly just within the neighborhood, within about maybe 20 doors. And sometimes I don't even knock on the door. I'm looking for the people out there mowing the lawn, and I'm just going to go up into the driveway and have a conversation. I also use that an opportunity to put my signs out. So because of the HOA taking them, if I put it in somebody's yard, it's less chance that the HOA is going to take it out of somebody's yard. So I'll knock on the door and I'll say, hey, I didn't know if you knew this, but your neighbor has actually put their house on the market and we're having an open house this weekend. Do you mind if I put a sign in your yard and I'll make sure to pick it up afterwards? And by the way, do you know anybody looking to buy and sell? It's a conversation, but it's also a way to have that conversation by saying, okay, I know you're on the corner here and I'm turning. Can I put a sign in your yard? So I do
People
think
really appreciate the courtesy too.
Yeah, exactly. But obviously for me, it's more about conversation. If I knock on a door, now I have a reason. It's not to say, hey, looking to buy or sell, but hey, can I put my sign out? And by the way, we're having an open house.
Yeah, connecting.
Hey, Brad, you got any restrictions up there for signage
Yeah.
in Virginia?
Yeah. You have to put them out. There's like times you can put them out. They have to be a certain size. I just look at it as a cost of sale. I know that probably, I probably we put out somewhere between 75 and 100 signs every weekend around our neighborhoods because it's free branding. and I'll lose, you know, they're $3 a piece. I mean, we lose probably $50 worth of signs every week. And it's just a branding signature. And, you know, the county will take them and you got to pay the county to get them back. I just let them keep them.
Oh, we don't even get that option. They just trash them.
Yeah. I mean, but if you go, you got to pay like, it's more than what the sign's worth to even get them back. So
I think the
for
message,
us, it's when I hear someone at an open house say, "Oh, I found you by the signs and not online," like I immediately know that's not a serious buyer, right? That's just someone out kind of meandering around. And so the only time they're really helpful is like if you're in condo or townhome communities, like putting them where people can find. But if you're at a house, you know, they're not using the signs, they're using their navigation or whatever. So for us, it's just absolute 100% branding.
yeah, and thank you for that. I'm absolutely happy to hear all three of you say that as long as you're purposeful about your prep and you're advertising ahead of time, door knocking, social media days before, signs are secondary, right?
Yep.
And they're probably just
I actually had a neighbor reach out to me one weekend because my signs weren't up because my sign guy wasn't in town, and was like, "Hey, you know, I didn't see your signs this weekend," and you know, like asking me, you know, basically being like, "Wow, you know." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll have them up next weekend. Don't worry." So I know that they're working, right? Because if someone's going to call me because they're not up, then
Paying
they're
attention.
used to seeing them. So
See, for me, I think we have a script on our team that when somebody walks in the door, it's a question we ask. So how did you hear about the open house? Did you see it on the internet or did you see our signs? When they say signs, that tells me they don't know what they're standing in. And we'll tell them that. We'll say, so you don't know what you're standing in. And obviously when we tell them it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 300,000, and they only need a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 200,000, this isn't their home. But now I need to change that whole script to, I want to become your agent. How have you been getting into open houses? I never ask, are you working with a realtor? I want a question where they can come back with a conversation. And so I'll say, so how have you been getting into open houses? Oh, we just been driving around. Okay, so now you're working with an agent, Rick Brown. I put that in their mindset that now they have an agent. And at that 200,000 to 300,000, it's probably their first time home buyer and they haven't actually aligned themselves with anybody. But even if they have, and I hate to say it, our loyalty, we understand, is with that buyer and that buyer's agent. But if I ask them who their name is and they don't know who that is, I'm sorry, they don't have an agent. Because if you're working with me, you're going to have my name on the tip of your tongue. You're going to know that I work with Keller Williams and I don't have a balloon with a red, yellow, oh, but I don't know the person's name. To me, that's not working with an agent. So we will, obviously, we're going to get into the follow-up, which is such a key in open houses. But, you know, make sure that they understand that, hey, I appreciate loyalty, but I am going to follow up with you just to make sure you are being taken care of.
Well, I love that. That actually segues perfectly into that next question about, you know, what are you doing at the open house? And that the first question might be is, how do you greet them? And I love what you just said. How you rather than how you working with a realtor, how did you find or start with, how did you find out about our open house? Brad, Kasha, what are you teaching your agents to enter people and greet people with?
Sure. So when you pull up to one of my open houses, I greet you at the front door. I'm not yelling at you from across the house or in the kitchen. I'm right there as you enter the property. I introduce myself. Hi, my name is Kasha. I'm with Keller Williams Realty. Thank you so much for coming today. Please come in. And I greet everyone that's standing with that group of people, including the kids. Once I've done that, then I ask them if they have a minute so that I can tell them about the house. And I do a full description of what they're standing in, right? Once I'm done explaining to them what the house has and have them specifically paying attention to the things I want them to look at, like any improvements that have been made or any home maintenance, expensive home maintenance items that have been taken care of, like new roofs or new air conditioning units or hot water tanks or big cosmetic remodels like kitchens, master bathrooms, flooring, that kind of stuff, then I'll slowly start a conversation, which of course leads me to ask them how they found me that day. How'd you find me today? And they'll usually tell me that they found me online or that they found me, you know, occasionally I get someone that followed the signs. Naturally, that conversation transitions into, well, how long have you been looking? and they tell me how long they've been looking, which is an indicator to me of their motivation. If they're just getting started, then I know they've probably been looking online for a while, and now they're testing to see what the houses look like in their price range. My next question after how long have you been looking is, where do you live now? And they'll usually tell me, because people like to talk about where they live. They like to talk about their house. And I can often find out by their responses whether they own their home or whether they're renting. If they own a home, then naturally the next question is, do you need to sell to buy? And they'll often tell me, yes, I do, or yeah, it's something that we're working on, or yes, and yes, I do. It's something that we're working on, or it's already on the market. If it's not already on the market, then I right away ask them if I can have the opportunity to look at their house. And I start working to setting a listing appointment. Okay. If they don't need to sell or are already under contract and are looking to just buy, then I ask, and I ask very discreetly, I don't even mention the word realtor, is anybody helping you? You're guiding them through a series of questions to help profile where you need to step in and help. Do I need to sell your house? Do I need to get you pre-qualified with a lender? Are you working with anybody else? Is anyone helping you? But at no point do I ask them, do you have a realtor? Because no different to you going to Best Buy, you're always going to say, no, I don't need your help. Yes, I have a realtor. Of course, I like what Jim had to say, because if they don't know that agent's name, there's zero loyalty, right? They don't have an agent. They're just putting you off. If they're wanting to buy, their house is not listed, then the next question is, have you spoken to a lender, or is this going to be a cash transaction? I live in a market that's extremely affordable. So there's still a high chance that someone might be paying cash. And if they say, no, I haven't spoken to anyone yet, or yes, I have somebody, I always encourage them by telling them, you're doing all the right things. Getting pre-approved or speaking to a lender is the first step. I would love for you to visit with my friend Randy. She takes such good care of my clients. That way you'll know exactly what you're getting yourself into, and she can pair you with the best loan product available at the time, right? You're already coming from a place of adding value. You haven't spoken to them about anything else, but you're encouraging the steps that they've already taken or letting them know what needs to happen next. Sorry?
They're all great questions.
So I was going to add, but I'm going to let Brad speak because I know he's chomping at the bit here.
So at the open house, we have a script and dialogue that you need to follow. And the very first question is, after you introduce yourself, go to the door, like Kasha said, because you can be yelling from the kitchen. That doesn't build rapport.
No.
So you go up, you introduce yourself, say who you are, ask them who they are, remember their name. And the first question we ask is, are you looking to buy a home today, or are you one of the neighbors that are looking to sell? And so we can immediately put them into a bucket as to whether or not there's somebody in the neighborhood that might be looking to sell, or that they're looking to purchase. 99% of the time they say, oh no, we're just out looking. And we say, fantastic. How are you currently getting into homes that aren't being held open? And that's sort of our intro into whether or not, if they're working with an agent, if they say, oh, we're having so-and-so show us homes, we just ask, that's fantastic. Have you signed an agreement, or are they just opening doors? So we figure out very quickly, like, who our potential clients are going to be. And then from there, we do, like what Kasha was saying, we tell them about the house, and then get them to sign in, get them to register, and then ask them if they want to go on a tour of the home or if they'd like to see it themselves. 99% of people want to go see it themselves, and we actually prefer that also. And we just say, would you just promise us that you'll stop by and give us some feedback before you head out? So it's really important to the seller, and we really want to make sure that we get the feedback. So can you promise us that you'll just stop and give that to us when you leave? And most people say yes. So then when they come back, that's whenever we start basically diving deeper into, so we'll take their registration form, flip it over, and say, and I ask the first question we ask is, hey, would you guys like to make an offer on this home today? And, kind of in a joking way or what have you, but yeah, we've had people be like, yeah, we absolutely do. And so we're in a hot market. A lot of buyers in our market will work right through the listing agent to write offers. So we'll ask them, hey, do you want to write an offer? They say no. We say, fantastic. What about this house? Would you change, or does it need to be different in order for it to be your dream home? So then we're actually just starting buyer consultation with them. Does it have enough beds, baths, et cetera, et cetera? I always get to the question of where are you currently living, because we want to know if they have a home to sell. So we basically do that mini buyer consultation. And then the dialogue that we always use is, it sounds like your next step, and no matter what step they're in, is to sit down with an agent, go through your criteria, and see if we can find you your dream home in the next few months. So then we go to setting a buyer consult. If they push back on that, we'll actually, that's why I said knowing the market really helps, because then I'll have my agents book at vacant homes, book times after their open house at these vacant homes that are like the one that they're in. And they'll say, great, well, this one didn't have an open house today, or you might have missed it. Would love to show that to you. It has a bigger backyard that you were mentioning that you like. So then we'll actually just go out and start, showing them 1 or 2 homes and building rapport with those people. So that's pretty much at the open house, kind of how we take them through the front door and into setting an appointment or setting showings for them.
So great. So one of the things we do, and I'll share this with you, and so I like what Kasha said, so far as meeting them at the door. We actually meet them at the door. We have a copy of the MLS. I guess we're a little bit more successful in people coming through with signs versus seeing it on the internet. 9 times out of 10, if they see it on the internet, I would say not 9 times out of 10, but majority of the time, an agent's told them to go to this house and look at it on the internet, which obviously the goal is to keep them off the internet and put them on our new consumer app. But we actually have a clipboard, small little clipboard, and I'll be more than happy to share this with everybody. It's very simple. You get name, address, email address. How did you find out about us? Signs. If you're working with a realtor, they'll put that down usually, right? And then we want feedback. Curb appeal, decor, condition, location, floor plan, 1 to 5. Very simple. So our script when we come to meet you at the door is, hi, thanks so much for coming to my open house. For security reasons, the owners have asked if you'll just go ahead and register, and I can let you walk around the home freely. And by doing so, if you wouldn't mind providing us some feedback for the seller. This kind of gives them the opportunity to go and walk around. They have the clipboard with the pen. We give them the MLS. We ask them if they heard from the signs or if they got us from internet. They're now stuck with us because they got to give me this clipboard back before they can leave the house. And some of the models, the stairs go right down the stairs out the front door, and they'll come in, they'll go out, and they'll never say hello to us from the kitchen. So I usually will say, here's this. Take this around, and what I can do is I can meet you back in the kitchen. I have a 2 cookie minimum, and we'll talk about the home, and the feedback. I want to build a relationship and build a trust. So a lot of times our conversation doesn't even have to do with the roof, the water heater, or anything like that. It's more about, well, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm a teacher. Well, my best friend is a teacher. Something that can kind of connect you and lower their guard down to where now they want to have a conversation. Living in the community, if they have kids, I'm fortunate that I have 4 kids that have gone through the school program in the same house of this neighborhood. You have 2 beautiful children. Obviously, schools are going to be important to you. Again, I'm building trust, I'm adding value, and hopefully you want name, address, and email. But really what you want is them to want to be, you want to be their agent before they walk out the door, because otherwise they're going to go to Kasha's open house and she's going to secure them. So just to come in an open house is not just get their name, email, and phone number. Everybody says to do that. Obviously there's a follow-up involved, and we'll talk about it. And we have something that we do, but don't just do that. Before they leave, they need to know who you are, who you work for, your first name, your last name, and then you tell them. So I know you're probably going to go see some other open houses. When you walk in that door and you meet Kasha, you tell her you're working with Rick Brown with Keller Williams, right?
Well, and that segues into our great last question. Thank you very much for that, because
Yeah.
As Gary Keller will tell all of us, we've learned over and over and over again, lead gen will bring you the money. Lead follow up will bring you the big money. So why don't we just go right in respect of time, because we're going to be here about 10 minutes and ask some questions. Is what's your follow-up system once you've got their name and address and email and phone number?
So Rick's right. The point of all of this is to build rapport and start building a trusting relationship. The easiest and best way to do that is by asking open-ended questions. First about what they're needing, so you can identify how you can help them. And then if you want to get super personal, using FORD, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams is a great way to go deep in that situation. As I'm asking the questions or using the guided dialogue that I shared with you guys a little bit earlier, because I'm asking them and talking to them the entire time, it's very easy for me to get their contact information by the time we're done having that conversation, and set the expectation that I'm going to be following up with them, that I'd love to see their home, setting a listing appointment, or I'd love to visit with them about the process of buying so I can take out the unknowns and the stress that may come along with that process, right? And so the follow-up, the first week is intense on my end. The second that open house is done, I have created a little Canva template that I text as an image to everyone that attended my open house. And it's basically a photo of me and a photo of the front of the house. And it says, "Thank you so much for coming. I loved meeting with you." And then I personalized the text message based on what they shared with me while we were in conversation. "Great meeting your kids. I know that you need more space. I'd love to get started with that." You know, I have that, I reaffirm what they shared with me while we were conversing. The next day, I send them the exact same thing, except it's in an email to see who will engage, right? And how they like to communicate best. The third touch, going out on that Monday, is a handwritten note to the address. And I verify their address by checking their contact information against the tax records, right? Very, very few times have I had someone lie to me or that information doesn't correlate. And I send them a handwritten note, thanking them again for coming to the open house and reminding them that I'm a real estate resource for them and that I'm here to help them with any questions that they might have. And I look forward to seeing their home or seeing their family again. And then during the same week, but by Thursday, so they should have received a text, received an email, and at this point received a handwritten note from me, they will be getting a call to follow up. "Hey, did you get this? What do you think? What can I do for you now? Would you like me to come visit?" If you're not setting the appointment or setting the expectation of being in touch and being of help to them, and you're doing it consistently and multiple times during that first week, I think once they're a met but not past client, then you are losing the opportunity. And it does need to happen that many times and that often for them to start building a relationship with you.
Yeah.
And so that's my first week's touch. After that, they go on to our database digital touch, which we send something every 2 weeks. We change out the information with market stats and what's happening within our community or what we're doing or any needs that we have that we might need their help with. And then we go into an automatic follow-up depending on their motivation. Remember, I measure all of that by the questions that we ask. How long have you been looking? Where do you live now? Do you need to sell to buy? Have you spoken with a lender? Right? And by identifying that timeline, I know when to follow up with them. Plus, they'll also tell me, I'll flat out ask them. We're not being secret agents. There's no secret why we're there. They're coming to meet us with real estate specifically in mind. So don't pretend like you're not there to set an appointment or to meet people that you can help in the future. And so by being very clear about what our intentions are, conversion ratios tend to spike from this type of lead generation opportunity.
So for us, very similar to what Kash is saying, and obviously we're not reinventing the wheel here. So we call it 5 days of pain. Everybody knows what the 10 days of pain is, but our feeling is that if you haven't secured them by 5 days, you've lost them,
Mm-hmm.
right? We didn't do what we should have done within the time that they were in our open house or within that first step. During the open house, when we have them fill this out, if you flip it over, and as a new agent out there that's never done an open house and you're trying to do it, you get a little skittish on what to ask. Well, I actually have all the questions on the back of this thing. So once you get their information and you flip it over, Now you can start asking. So obviously, what's your motivation? What Kasha was mentioning. You know, do you have a home to sell or are you renting? If so, when's your lease up? Time frame, price point, things like that. And you can start just kind of go down this list and make sure you get it covered. The one thing we do as a team is we, like Kasha, we do texting, but we do a video text. We're standing in front of the house. We actually use BombBomb, which is a great tool because it does analytics that covers. And we'll say, thank you for coming to my open house at 123 Main Street. Please use this consumer app during the searching of your homes, which is the new KW app that's been put out. And we'll be following up tomorrow. I don't even tell you when. It's going to be tomorrow. So our 5 days of paying is video text on day one, a phone call, whether we get them on the phone or don't get them on the phone. We're leaving a voicemail that says, hey, just wanted to follow up that you got my video, right? And I'm going to be talking to you tomorrow through email. And I'll say, look for my email regarding what we call a buyer's advantage program. That's something that we'll have a conversation while we're standing in front of the buyer, that we're going to set you up on a buyer's advantage program. Wouldn't you want to be set up on that? And they're like, well, yeah, I want to be part of that. Well, that's the MLS search, guys. When you set up an auto mail on your MLS search, that's the buyer's advantage program. So if they don't respond in day two, on day three, we send that auto email out, but we personalize it. Thank you for coming to my open house. I left a voicemail for you. In the meantime, from the questions you answered, I've gone ahead and taken the liberty to send you some properties that I think you're going to like. But I'd love to set up that buyer consultation so we can dive further in it and help you find that next home. That's day three. Day four depends on the age of the individual that came into your open house. If they're older, they're a phone call. They're not tech savvy. They don't really do the texting thing. So I'll make another phone call. But if they're a millennial, I'll do another video text, or I'll just text, right? And then day five is an email. And in the subject line, it's, where did I go wrong? What did I do that you didn't choose to give me a call back? I need some kind of engagement, something, some action item. And my team I know is on this call, but they'll tell you that we constantly, that's where we get the response, right? And if you haven't gotten in the fifth day, yes, like Kasha, we probably throw them into a drip, maybe a 10 days of pain or a 8x8 or something like that. But I really do truly feel that we've lost them as a client. And obviously, if you're continuing to do these open houses, you're going to build your buyer pool from it.
Yeah.
And your listing pool.
Absolutely, 100%.
Hey, Brad, could you share your follow-up with us, please?
Yeah, so I think that for me, when I did I did 25 in the first year, was all off a follow-up. And really, I was calling expires and FSBOs in the morning, and I had Mojo, and I was just putting them into Mojo, and then I'd immediately just go into all my other leads, which were open house leads. And it was just calling them and getting them on the phone. We're a little bit more systematic now, but if I were sitting in the room and I wanted to know what a follow-up system is, it's call them every day till you get them on the phone and ask them for an appointment. Now what we do is right after the open house, we time block an hour so that you have time to follow up with everyone that came through. So either sending them a text or going ahead and calling them. There's two questions that we ask every person when they come through an open house when it finishes. And if you get nothing out of this, write these two questions down. And I trust that you got a lot out because I've been writing notes the whole time too from these folks. Is number one is, do you want to make an offer on this home or any other home that you've seen today? And then number two is, I've got time for, I've got some time in my schedule on Tuesday at 3 or Wednesday at 6. What works best for you so we can help you find your dream home? The number one reason most people don't get appointments because they don't ask. The number one reason people go and write offers with other agents on your listings is because you're not asking if they want to write an offer. So we like whether or not they ran past us and we didn't get to introduce ourselves. If I don't even know their name, I'm going to ask those two questions. And then for follow-up, it's just like they said, you need to touch them 4 or 5 times in that first week. And I love that last email. That's a very bold email. And I think that's like, because then you're putting it off of you and back to them. And if you've done your job up to that point of asking great questions, then they're going to respond to you because you've added value. I think the worst, like I used to do a lot of, go to a lot of open houses when I was trying to find agents for my team. And I can't tell you how many open houses I went into where I gave them all the information and they never followed up with me, or they just asked me what my name was. I felt unappreciated, like they didn't want to help me. And then I went into some open houses, much like probably someone like Rick or Kasha, and they were asking me a lot of questions, but I didn't take it as they were selling me. I took it as they were trying to help me, right? They were asking me what's, you know, are schools important to you? Or is this the only neighborhood that you're looking in? You know, do you need more space? Do you need, you know, so it was really, you know, don't take it as that you're selling someone. You're just getting it. The only way that you can help them is if you ask questions and get information. And then in the follow-up, you know, once you follow up with them in 4 or 5 days, if they haven't agreed to an appointment, then they just need to go in your database, and you should have that set up for hot leads that should get an appointment in the next couple of weeks, A leads that are probably 30 days out, B leads are 60 days out, and C leads being 90 days out, and then nurtures 90 plus. And you're following up accordingly based on the motivation of the potential client.
You guys have been fantastic. I'll tell you what, in the respect of your time and ours, is there anybody in our group of Keller Williams Peace River Partners here in Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte, have any questions for our panel? What's your biggest aha?
One of the ones that I really liked was that neighbors aren't looky-loos, they're interviewing you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I always, you know, treat them kind of like another customer, but like really just treating that like this is an interview for the future because that's what you're doing. It's part of a farm, you know, is an open house in an area that you want to be in. So you really need to treat that like you're my future customer.
Those relationships are really important. Do not dismiss the looky-loos or the neighbors, because that one neighbor that knows everything that's happening in your neighborhood could be the best resource you'll ever have in your business, because they know who's getting married, they know who's getting divorced, they know who's having a baby. You need to be their friend. You're going to get the scoop on everything. You're going to know which door to go knock on.
Any questions? Anybody's got a question? Come on, hit me up. I know, Michael, you got a question. But here's a great thing. 3 great panelists, and they're taking notes from each other. Missy,
What is the preferred cookie?
what is the preferred cookie at an open house? That's a
Believe it or not, for me, it's Chips Ahoy. we just do Chips Ahoy. I mean, I don't really go nuts with it. So for us,
That's awesome.
Oh,
Can I share just one thing I was thinking about as we were thinking through these questions? And I think that the boys kind of, the gentlemen kind of touched on this. You know, realtors wear lots of different hats, right? As part of our job, if we're doing our job well, we're doing lots of different things for our clients. The first half of preparing for an open house, you're being a master marketer. Your job is to get engagement and to share what you're doing and to share information and to start conversations with the marketing that you're doing. You're a master marketer. You're not selling anyone on anything. The middle part of your job, which is when you're engaging with the people that are coming through the property, is asking questions and figuring out how you can help them. You're part therapist, part investigator, part guidance counselor, right? That's trying to analyze by the answers that they're sharing, what it is that they can do for you. You don't become a realtor until you set an appointment and you go straight into your job description of what being a realtor is, which is getting you from, I want this house, to the closing table. And so if you guys can, if compartmentalizing this process helps wrap your head around how you can be of service and how to do this at the highest possible level, it's an understanding that each part of this process, you're playing a different role.
yeah. And honestly, guys, for open houses, if you've never done one, you definitely want to shadow a bunch of different agents, right? Don't just go and try to do it on your own. I shadowed probably 3 or 4 top agents in our market center before I really took a little bit of everybody's and then kind of made my own little toolbox of what worked and what I didn't think worked for me. Because not every open house is going to be the same for me than it would be for Kasha or for Brad. So you want to make it your own. But I think ultimately for us, it's about building a relationship. And I really believe that when somebody comes into my open house, I do want to know what their kids' names are. I want to know what they do for a living. I want to know what their hobbies are. I want to know their likes and their dislikes. Granted, we're going to talk about the house, but it's going to be a lot easier conversation when they like me, right? Because when they come in, they don't even know who I am. So
No.
when I start building that trust, and you'll be surprised when, obviously, we get a lot of VA, we got a lot of military out there, and they come in, and I can have a conversation about my son-in-law is in the Army. My father was 27 in the Air Force. I mean, you start to connect. When you connect and they like you, the questions of asking, so what are you looking for? Do you own? Are you looking to sell? Whatever that looks like, those are going to just roll off the tip of their tongue. And I have a story. It's funny, just this past weekend where I had one of my buyer's agents doing one of my listings. And I before Kasha got on, I was explaining that I never do my own listings, my own open houses for my listings. I actually have an agent sit in them. And she was the buyer's agent and I'm the listing agent. So obviously my fiduciary commitment is to the seller. And this person came in and I welcomed her because the buyer's agent that I had was busy. And long story short, I said, look, so I'm a listing agent. You really want to talk to this young lady? She's a buyer's agent and she's going to beat me up on price. I am a listing agent and I'm going to tell you, if you ask me how much this house is, it's full price. So that's my commitment to my seller. That actually can sometimes help you when they go, well, you know what? We have a house to sell. I really like that idea. We would love to talk to you about listing our home, because they see my commitment is to the seller, right? Anyway, what happened was they came in, they had 2 little children. And this young lady that works for me, she actually was a teacher. And so she had worked with little kids. And I'm talking to the couple and she had the little boy. And we had the cookies and we had the desserts. And I guess one of the cupcakes was not appealing to him. And he spit it out and she held her hand out and the spit was just dripping off her hand. And the lady turned to me and she goes, oh crap, we got to work with her now. So it was about building a relationship. Maybe not so much like that, but it was definitely, you know, they had that
Felt
connection.
like they owed
And
you.
it 100%.
If you spit in my hand, you're working with me.
Exactly, right? So
No doubt.
You guys have been fantastic, and again, in respect for your time and ours, we all made 3 great new friends. We're going to make sure that all the agents in this room have your contact information, because we've got an
Absolutely.
Orlando referral, a Alexandria, Virginia referral source, a Tulsa, Oklahoma referral source.
and now I
So-
have a Tulsa referral as well and a Virginia referral.
Awesome.
Yay.
And if you
So,
guys will get emails, I don't have a problem. If you're interested, I'll send this out.
that's the best.
I was also going to let you guys know that if any of you want to go to www.openhousewin.com, there is my family reunion presentation for the breakout session that I did about lead generation to your database that you can download for free. It's literally just a tab at the top of the website. There's in that presentation, the last page is a full page of scripts on how to lead generate to your database and what to say around different events that you might be planning. So www.openhousewin.com. Starting next week, there will be a weekly touch that goes out on Thursdays. That is an open house series. So it goes through my entire open house presentation and everything I do that helps supersize your open house efforts. And if you know anyone that needs that help, just have them go to that website, download those scripts, and you'll automatically get it once a week on Thursday, 36 times this year, because we have 36 videos that we'll be sharing that I've prepared. And then, of course, if you ever have any questions about anything, just let us know. We're here to help you. We're all here to learn from each other. And these guys do an amazing job.
Is that not why we love this company, right?
Sure is.
Share.
Share it all. Everything you got. It makes the entire industry better.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Tasha. Tasha, we really appreciate your time. And you'll be getting copies of this video so you can share it with your people as well.
Love it.
Awesome.
Thank you. Sorry for messing up the times again.
That's all right. I do it all the time. All right. Thank you, everybody.
See y'all.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yeah, nice meeting y'all. Take care.
Nice meeting
Care.
you.
Bye.